Hello guys, my name is Kyle Diamond and welcome to my MMA channel. Before we get into this video all about The Ultimate Fighter, just wanted to mention that some of you may know, some of you might not. I do interviews for the channel Violent Money. The YouTube channel name is VMTV. We get some great UK MMA guys on. We've got a big episode coming out soon where we're going to be previewing UFC London. But our most recent episode was with the great Dan Hardy, who's a guy that I find very inspiring in terms of the work that I want to do in this space. So please go check out that interview. I will leave the link in the description below, as well as you can probably click on it on the screen right now. But we sat down and spoke for like half an hour. There is part of it which is about Adesanya Whitaker 2, so obviously that part's not relevant, but it's like 2 minutes of a half-hour conversation. We got stuck into loads of great stuff, so go check that out. Whilst I'm at it with plugs, I really enjoy making these videos, so if you enjoy watching them, leave a like, hit subscribe, because if these videos do well, then I'm going to put more time into it and we'll make more videos happen, we'll up the quality a bit and stuff like that. So if you enjoy it, show it some love and I'll show it back. Alright, let's talk about The Ultimate Fighter. Okay, so full transparency, you might be thinking the thumbnail doesn't look like the video, and that's because I've started to edit the video that I recorded already, and noticed that I started it by calling it the Contender Series instead of the Ultimate Fighter, and that is not a good note to start a video on. So, here we go again. When the Ultimate Fighter returned with its last season, Team Volkanovski versus Team Ortega, it was clear to everyone that nothing had changed with The Ultimate Fighter. They had taken the same format and put it in a new place, and that was it. There was no big return or anything like that. And the series really didn't live up to what people kind of hoped for, which, don't get me wrong, people weren't expecting it to be incredible, but changes needed to happen because the Contender Series produces talent far more effectively than the Ultimate Fighter ever could. You just have to look at any UFC card and look at how many people are on there who have come through the Ultimate Fighter and how many people have come through the Contender Series. It's absolutely insane how much the Contender Series is starting to fill up the roster. Also, the other big problem, I think, in the past with TUF is that the wrong coaches were picked. I don't mean that they weren't good coaches, I mean that the entertainment value wasn't there, and if you haven't got the talent acquisition part of TUF anymore, because Contender Series does it better, if you want to see great fights every week on TV and stuff, go check out the Contender Series. I know it's not on TV, but you know what I mean. The entertainment value has to be there. The great seasons of The Ultimate Fighter that people know and love are the ones where it was great TV. Like, I know that reality TV and fighting, it was very of its time, but it can still be entertaining, I believe, if they pick the right coaches. And that's what it comes down to, because the contestants, it's not like the old days where you're going to get people fighting at the house and drinking in between fights and stuff like that. People are more professional now, so you need the coaches to bring it. And when Nunes and Pena were announced as the new coaches, which I'm not hating on the fight, it's a great fight, but I think it's fair to say that it's not going to be the most entertaining series of The Ultimate Fighter. And I think that if this doesn't change, I think we are going to have The Ultimate Fighter stop existing pretty soon, which would be a sad thing. So with that all being said, here are my 5 pitches for what they should do for The Ultimate Fighter to bring that entertainment value back. Okay, my first pitch for the Ultimate Fighter coaches is quite an obvious one in my opinion. I've gone for Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo to square off as coaches and then have their 4th fight. Now, the Ultimate Fighter usually means there's going to be a long build-up to a fight, and I don't want to hold the division down and stop guys like Askar Askarov getting their shot at that belt, because we can't just have Moreno and Figueiredo fight between themselves forever, though I do kind of want to see that at the same time. You know for a start that you've got the perfect heel and face right there, to talk in pro wrestling terms. Davison Figueiredo is that guy that he doesn't care that it's on TV. He's going to play the villain role. You know he is, especially if he's got Henry Cejudo with him. That's just another great element sat right there. And Brandon Moreno won people over on the Ultimate Fighter when he was on was he on Team Cejudo or Team Benavidez? Team Cejudo, right? So there's a great narrative there already, just sitting there with the whole Team Cejudo thing. But if you're going to do a 4th fight, which some people are going to be like, they're fighting again, which if you say that, then you haven't seen the other fights. But there's a reason that a fourth fight hasn't been done in the UFC before. However, if you have Tough behind it, you know that they're both going to play their parts beautifully. I mean, Brandon Moreno isn't really playing a part. He's just incredibly likable, and he'll do that whatever situation you put him in. But I think that it will convince people that this fourth fight needs to happen if they're not on board already, which I can't imagine how you wouldn't be, but you never know. So do that. It'll just sell the fight beautifully, and then it adds another layer to that rivalry, so we get another element to go into with that fourth fight. So yeah, Figueiredo and Moreno, it seems quite obvious to me, but yeah. Okay, next pick. I've put Sean O'Malley versus Cody Garbrandt, but realistically it could be Sean O'Malley versus anyone. Do I believe Sean O'Malley will sign up to do a season of Tough? Probably not. But if they can get him to do it, he's the perfect guy that you want to put on a show like this. Give him TV time, because the more time you give Sean O'Malley, the more exposure and the more of a star he's going to become. This guy just wins people over by being in front of cameras. You know he's going to do some weird stuff. You know he's going to get in the head of the other person, especially if it's Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt would be the person that I would choose out of anyone, just because he's got that rivalry already with O'Malley. He's coached before on The Ultimate Fighter, so I think he would do it. And you know that Cody Garbrandt is going to bite any single time that Sean O'Malley tries to get at him. So it's just a great combination of people, two guys that don't like each other, don't see eye to eye, but are interesting in their own ways. It's a great fight, of course, but yeah, I just think this would be... A lot of the best seasons of The Ultimate Fighter play out like this one does, with someone playing sort of the antagonist, and the other person, you're just waiting to see how long they can put up with them for. Sean O'Malley versus Cody Garbrandt is just perfect in that sense. Again, do I think that it would happen? Probably not. But Sean O'Malley, if you're going to make Tough bigger and better, Sean O'Malley is sitting right there as one of your guys that wins people over every single time you put him in front of a camera. Okay, this pick is very selfish. This is something that I really want to see. Of course, I want to see Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler fight each other. Who doesn't want to see that? But for me, mostly, it's because I want to see Tony Ferguson coach The Ultimate Fighter. I'm a huge Tony Ferguson fan. Obviously, he came through on The Ultimate Fighter, so it would be cool to see him go back there. But if you're telling me that must-watch television and Tony Ferguson coaching people every single week isn't two things that go together, I would happily watch Tony Ferguson train fighters without The Ultimate Fighter going on, but throw that in as well. I've picked Michael Chandler just because I'm sure he would be a great coach. It's a great fight at the end of it. Will they trash talk each other? I can't imagine they will, but with Tony, you never know. He might just show up and decide that he doesn't like Michael Chandler that day. I'm sure Tony Ferguson probably has something he doesn't like about Michael Chandler. He has that about everyone. So that's it for me. Is I really want Tony Ferguson to coach The Ultimate Fighter before he calls it a day. And Michael Chandler makes sense as a guy to do it across from him as the rival coach. Okay, if there wasn't a really obvious one sitting as my number one pick for what I want to do with The Ultimate Fighter, this would definitely be it. But there is a really obvious one that we'll talk about in a minute. Darren Till. I've put in with Marvin Vettori because that's a fight that was already made, and I would like to see that fight be made again. But you could put him in there with a bunch of people. Luke Rockhold, I think, would be a fun one because of their narrative with each other, because of Rockhold's past with Bisping. But Vettori, again, similar to Figueiredo, you know what you're going to get with Marvin Vettori on The Ultimate Fighter. I say similar to Figueiredo, more similar to Cody Garbrandt in the personality sense. Marvin Vettori is not a person that it takes a lot of time to annoy. He bites very fast. Darren Till is another personality like Sean O'Malley, where if you put him in front of a camera, he's going to make people care, whether they don't like him because he says whatever he wants and really speaks his mind, or they like him because of how honest he is. He's a funny character. I think Till really needs some momentum. A fight with Marvin Vettori, I don't think is the fight to give him that momentum necessarily. It's quite a dangerous fight for him. But a season of The Ultimate Fighter to get fans back on his side and to get them really hyped up for another Darren Till fight, because performances haven't been there for him lately. I think he needs to be on the Ultimate Fighter. Of course, you get the element of having Team Calbon with him, which would be fascinating from a UK MMA perspective. But also just, I think Till would benefit from this so much. And then it would make the fight with him and whoever he's against even bigger. Like I said, Vettori would be a very fun option. I think you would probably get the most entertaining series. Would I be worried about it from the fight perspective for Till? Probably quite a bit, yeah. But Till on the Ultimate Fighter makes perfect sense. And if you need to build momentum around him to try and keep that kind of star quality to Till, put him in front of a camera and let him do the rest. Okay, my number one pick for the Ultimate Fighter. It's so obvious that I'm assuming most of you knew that I was going to say this, and if you didn't, it's probably because you thought it was too obvious for me to say it. Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. Of course, we are getting this fight in just a couple of weeks. So that makes it the most obvious one on this list by default, because it's actually a fight we're already getting. This is the one that people thought we were going to get instead of Nunes and Pena. I think if they were going to bring back the Ultimate Fighter, obviously they've already done it, but if they hadn't brought it back for Volkanovski and Ortega, they should have waited for this to really bring it back in a big way. It's got everything that you would want. It's a great fight at the end of it. It's also a great fight that is a pay-per-view main event without a belt on the line. So if you really want to make this into a huge fight, these guys are going to sell the fight. Masvidal, I suppose in some ways doesn't do a lot to sell a fight, but it's his personality that sells the fight. It's the fact that he doesn't want to engage in all of that stuff. But he will also at the same time when the person on the other end is kind of pushing that enough, like Ben Askren. Jorge Masvidal ended up selling that fight by his reaction to hating Ben Askren. And you can be damn sure that he is not a fan of Colby Covington after their history together. It makes sense. Colby, of course, used to train obviously with Masvidal, but also at the gym. So you've got the team versus team dynamic of Colby being a former teammate to all of the people on Team Masvidal, not just Jorge himself. So that adds another dynamic into the fight. It's just so obvious that I would assume it was... They did try and make it happen, and for some reason they couldn't, because if they didn't try and make it happen, then I don't know. But my guess would be that Colby or Jorge said no. If I was putting money on it, I would probably say both of them wouldn't want to do it. Jorge's not going to want to spend that much time around Colby, and Colby probably just wants to focus on his training and stuff. But it makes the most sense of any two people you could put in to coach the Ultimate Fighter across from each other. It's got to be Masvidal and Colby. I don't think there is a better two guys to coach across from each other because of the narrative, because of the fight at the end, because they would be fascinating coaches as well. Like, that's something that I always enjoy on the Ultimate Fighter, is seeing how people kind of approach it. It would win people back over to this format that I think is dying. And that's the cold hard truth of it. It does seem dated now, but you bring the entertainment back with two guys like Jorge Masvidal and Colby, two of the biggest stars in the sport right now. And who knows what could happen. Guys, thank you for checking out this video. Leave a comment below if there's any you agree with, disagree with. You got any shouts that you think are better than any of the ones that I chose for this? Are you excited for the Ultimate Fighter anymore? I suppose the biggest question is, do you even care about the Ultimate Fighter anymore? But, you know, that's another topic for another video on another day. I will see you on the next one, guys. Cheers.